Good evening, everyone. This evening is our monthly meeting of the Board of Adjustment. We are committed to a transparent process and encouragement of public comment during our meetings. We will be accepting testimony from all parties. If you wish to testify on any particular petition before us this evening using the Zoom platform, please use the raise hand feature. You can raise your hand at any time and we will recognize you at the appropriate time for the presentation of evidence for each case. If in person this evening, please hand staff your speaker's card. Planner Robin Keefe will be moderating the hybrid meeting and will be asked to provide names of those individuals that wish to speak. I'd like to call the meeting of the City of Wildwood's Board of Adjustment to order. The board members present today are Dave Bertolino, alternate member, Kevin Lux, board member, Arnie Sprunger, board member, Michael Lee, board member, and myself, Jared Frank, chair. The Department of Planning staff present is Joe Vunich, Director of Planning, and Robin Keefe, planner. City Attorney John Young and Court Reporter Courtney Talman are also present on Zoom. First, I offer to the record the affidavit of publication pertaining to today's meeting, February 20th, 2025, and take official notice of the zoning and ordinance of the City of Wildwood, including Chapter 400, Article 2, authorizing establishing the Board of Adjustment's powers and duties. Now, let me explain the hearing procedure. Please be aware the information I'm about to describe is also provided on the Board of Adjustment's public hearing procedure handout, which was available online prior and up to tonight's meeting. This hearing is informal in its nature. However, the meeting's proceedings will be recorded by a reporter for future transcription if needed. The petitions are called in the order listed on the agenda. As the petition is called, I will ask a Department of Planning staff member to read each request into the record. Thereafter, the Department of Planning will have opening remarks and have a brief slide presentation. Then the petitioner or his or her representative will be asked to state their name, address, be sworn in by the court reporter, make a brief presentation to the board explaining the nature of the requested variance, and present such evidence of witness testimony that may evidence the practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship that warrant the variance. The board will only consider the unique character of the property to determine whether the warrant of the granting of a variance. The petitioner's presentation shall be limited to 15 minutes total, inclusive of any questions posed by the board, unless such time is extended by the chair. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts of the petitioner's presentation. When the board is satisfied with the material presented by the petitioner, the chair will then ask if there is anyone present or online who would like to speak in favor or opposition to the requested variance. Each speaker will be asked to provide their name and address, be sworn in, and then provide evidence and oral testimony. Witness testimony shall be limited to 5 minutes, inclusive of any questions posed by the board, unless such time is extended by the chair. Procedurally, the petitioner may request a continuance at any time during the hearing prior to a call for vote in order to bring in additional evidence or testimony. The board may also continue the proceedings. After the submission of testimony and evidence from all interested parties, the board will ask a staff person to provide the Department of Planning's report on this matter if requested by any member of the board, the petitioner, or any individual that is participating in person or online. Once all witnesses have been heard, the chair will call for a motion to grant or deny with or without conditions. Then the board will vote. At that time, the presentation of evidence relating to the petition is concluded, and no further evidence will be permitted. The board may make a decision today. 4 members of the board must vote in favor of the variance for it to be approved. If a variance is approved, the petitioner has 6 months to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use, or it will expire. If the board's decision is unfavorable, the petitioner has the right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court. This appeal must be done within 30 days of the decision. That being said, Ms. Keefe, are there any questions at this time?
Mr. Chair, I do see one individual online. If at this time that individual would like to make comment, please use the raise hand feature. I see no raised hand. Mr. Chair, there are no questions.
Thank you. Hearing no questions at this time, the meeting will proceed. Please read the request into the record, which will be followed by a brief slide presentation if desired by the board members.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, with your permission, I do want to emphasize a change that's being introduced tonight.
Mm-hmm.
As the board members are aware, the bylaws were updated. Well, actually, the bylaws were created and adopted by the members at our last meeting. As part of that now, we do limit presentations by petitioners to 15 minutes, and those speaking in favor or opposition or with questions to 5 minutes. I will keep track of the time. When we reach a minute left for the petitioner or anyone speaking in favor, opposition, or with questions, I'll also do a minute so that they are aware they're reaching the end of their time frame. So again, new to the meeting tonight, we'll do our best to make it as seamless as possible. But again, with new things, sometimes you run into a few problems.
Thank you, Director.
Given my microphone doesn't seem to want to cooperate tonight, I will read the first request into the record. EA 2-25 Mattress Dogs, 113 Plaza Drive, Wildwood, Missouri, 63040. Care of Carrie Ballinger. Fast Signs, Lake St. Louis, 6293 Ronald Reagan Drive, Lake St. Louis, Missouri, 63367. Requests an exception to the business signs attached to wall for the purpose of erecting one wall sign that will be attached to the building, with such being located upon the property at 113 Plaza Drive, locator number 23V 310471, Wildwood Town Center, Lot 12, which would thereby authorize lettering heights of 60 inches in lieu of the required 24 inches and an overall size of 50 square feet in lieu of 16.25 square feet. These sign regulations are stipulated by Chapter 415, 420, sign regulations for all C and M districts of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance, Chapter 415.190, CA Plan Commercial District regulations of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance, and amended CA Plan Commercial District Ordinance number 2200. This request is also to be reviewed by the Architectural Review Board at its February 13th, 2025 meeting, as required by Chapter 415.400 Sign Regulations General. This property is located in Ward 8. And finally, before Ms. Keefe comes forward to the podium and provides the slide presentation, the department would like to introduce into tonight's record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance, a file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any items that are offered as part of tonight's hearing, including testimony, exhibits, maps, photos, and etc. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. Our first case this evening does concern variance requests to lettering height and the overall size of a sign that is attached to the wall of a building located in the Wildwood Town Center. The sign is for the anchor tenant of this building, which is a 7-tenant building. And it is located at the southwestern corner of the intersection of Highway 100 and Taylor Road. And it is also, in fact, the access to the parking area for the shopping center is from Plaza Drive, and it's addressed as such as well, which is to the south. As Director Vunich noted, it is located in the C8 Planned Commercial District of Town Center, which has a governing ordinance associated with it. The sign requiring variances is located on the southwestern facade of the building on the inside, which faces Plaza Drive and the parking area that is shared by the building's businesses. 3 other signs are also proposed on the opposite side of the building, but these signs form a singular unit, are permitted by city regulations, and are not the subject of this variance hearing. There is 193.63 square feet of space located on this particular facade of the building where the tenant space is located. It has 16 feet and 3 inches of linear length. And this is very important in with our current regulations in calculating the sign's allowable overall size, which is an equivalent. So 16.25 square feet is what's allowed. This sign is requesting, this sign is requesting a larger square foot at 50 square feet than that 16.25 square feet. And it's also requesting a taller lettering height at 60 inches instead of 24 inches. It should be noted that the Planning and Zoning Commission is presently considering some amendments to the city sign regulations. And part of that overall initiative is addressing a sign proportionality with building spaces. And that is relevant in this case. At the Architectural Review Board meeting, which met on February 13th of this year, the Architectural Review Board did review the sign, and they voted to recommend that the applicant produce some additional options for this board to consider. And at that time, they expressed some concerns about the sign size, its color in relation to the other signs, and also its location on the building itself. Those comments are summarized in a memorandum that was presented to this board in your packets this evening. These are the applicant has since produced several options for this board to consider. And I have 4 of these options outlined in your report this evening. Option A is the original request, which is a colored sign with blue and peach colors at the requested height of 60 inches and an overall size of 50 square feet. It should be noted, as the department did explain to the board, did explain to the Architectural Review Board, and also explained in your report, that part of those sign regulation updates that are being considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission would include a regulation regarding the size sign in relation to a percentage of that area instead of being linked to that linear length number that we discussed. If the regulation that's presently being considered, and again, it hasn't been adopted, but what's being considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission, this sign would actually be less than what would be allowed under that regulation. And I believe that calculation was 58 square feet and this sign is 50 square feet, if you want to understand that number. The second option was produced by the applicant in response to the Architectural Review Board's comments, where they suggested that perhaps a white sign with an accent should be considered. This sign is the same size and same lettering height as the other sign, but it is in white with that accent color. Option C is about 3/4 of the size. Yep, okay. So it's a little smaller, and it's also a white sign with a colored accent. And then finally, a 4th option was presented where the sign was about half the size. And that is before you as well. And it's also colored white with a colored accent. Additionally, the applicant, in an effort to advocate for the largest size possible for the sign, they produced an additional option for you to consider. So we can call it option E if you like. It's at your seat this evening. And this sign is slightly larger than that option C option. So this is 51 inches lettering height, and then a little bit more than that 3/4 of the size. To give a sense of the area surrounding this plaza and also what the plaza looks like itself, here we have a picture. In this picture, we're looking northeast. This is Highway 100. Other tenants on this same building include Starbucks Coffee, a boutique store, a nail spa, a hair salon, and the exercise coach. And I apologize, you can probably figure it out, but this is where the tenant would be going in. Or, well, they already are there, but that's where the sign would be. This is looking southeast towards Walgreens and Taylor Road. Again, just noting that this building is on that intersection of Highway 100 and Taylor Road. So this would be looking northeast. This is that parking area that serves the building, and we're looking west. This is looking southwest. This is Plaza Drive that you're looking at. This is looking northeast. It's just a closer up view of the building. And to give you a sense of what other signs look like in Town Center, I took some pictures. So this is the exercise coach. It is an orange and white sign that's located on the same building. The hair salon does have some red accent in association with the white lettering. On the opposite side of this building, Starbucks does have a logo upon it that's green. My Wildwood Dentist is a blue sign. Premier Martial Arts is light green. Treats Unleashed is a black with an accent. And then finally, we have Alloy Personal Training, which is a yellow sign, and we have Code Ninjas, which is a blue and black sign. There have been several variances to signage size in Town Center, many of which have been approved. Many have also been denied. It just depends on the circumstances. With signage, it can sometimes be difficult to get it exactly right. But that is why the Planning and Zoning Commission is considering the matter once again. At this time, I'll conclude my presentation. If this board has any questions for the department, we're happy to answer them.
So Robin, the P and Z is considering ratio or percentage. Okay, what is that? Do you know?
What is the ratio percent?
Or the
5% of the overall area.
5% of the overall area? Work.
The consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission is taking the front facade of the tenant space, measuring its height and width, and taking 5% of that.
Okay, so it's in the earlier measurement that was like just under 200 square feet. That's not the entire facade, right? Or it is?
It is. It's the height of the tenant space times its width. And then 5% of that, I believe, as Ms. Keefe mentioned, would be approximately 58 square feet. The largest sign allowed in Town Center, at least in terms of a wall or flat sign, is 50 square feet. So proportionately, we're trying to, I think the Planning and Zoning Commission is attempting to try to address taller buildings, which our current regulations do not take into account very well.
Yeah, because I was just looking at 5% of 200 square feet obviously isn't 50 square feet, but Yeah, just that box, right? So you have to consider the rest of the frontage. Gotcha. Thank you.
As clarification, any of these signs, assuming that that's adopted, what we believe would meet option E, for instance, would be half of the size of what in the future what might be acceptable. Is that
Correct.
right?
All of these options would then fit within that regulation. The lettering height would not. That's still a variance. But it's, I mean, obviously both are a variance this evening, but the
Yeah.
lettering height would not be a variance if those regulations were adopted.
Do you have any idea what the timing is for the adoption of those regulations? Is that like forthcoming soon or is that?
Mr. Lux, I wish I could tell you it's going to just happen in a month or two. It'll probably be midsummer before we're done.
Just to clarify, the maximum signage in town center is 50 square feet.
Again, for a wall or flat sign, as we call them, the maximum is 50 square feet in town center. And that also holds true for monument signs.
Any other initial questions for the department? At this time, will the petitioner please come forward, state his or her name, address, relationship to the property, and we'll get you sworn in by the court reporter.
Hi.
Hi.
Lift this up a little bit right there. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for all your help and everything too.
If you could state your name, address, relation to the property, and then we'll get you sworn in.
My name is Richard Kastmeyer. My address is 208 Merrimack Station Road. That's in Valley Park, Missouri, 63088.
And your relationship to the property?
I am an owner of the company. Mattress Dogs.
Get you sworn in here.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to say thank you guys all for being here. It's really great to meet you. I was telling my business partner Raymond and Carrie, she's been helping us that we made it to the Board of Adjustment in Wildwood. This is really cool. I come from humble beginnings. I was telling Robin this, actually. I started this company with my own money, and I come from nothing. And I started it in Valley Park about 6 months ago, and we carry this brand called Tempur-Pedic and Beauty Rest. And whenever we first started, Tempur-Pedic would not let us carry the brand. Beauty Rest said that we could not carry their luxury brand. But me and my business partner, Raymond, we've been doing this for 50 years collectively. We have a nonprofit to eliminate human trafficking and one to eliminate dog homelessness. So we use those right there to go out, and we would bring people in to earn money for nonprofits all over Missouri. And we would bring people in that way. And doing that, we've actually quadrupled our competitors who had 100 chain stores. And now within 6 months, we opened our second location here with a 15-year lease. I want that on the record. It's just so you know how committed we are to Wildwood. We're gonna be averaging anywhere between 1 million and 3 million in sales per year. That's good tax money. I just want to say that too. But the cool thing about it, from doing all that work and everything like that here, Beauty Rest has now given us their entire luxury line, and then also Tempur-Pedic. Out of 120 Tempur-Pedic stores, they have this one mattress that you can only carry if you're a special store. And since we got the Wildwood store, they let us carry it. We're the 5th store in St. Louis to do that. So we're extraordinary people. I'm not going to lie to you. We have also teams that we go to homeless shelters, detox centers every single week, and we give back to the community. So this is who we're bringing to the community here too. We've already partnered with every single person in our portion here, and the dog stores and stuff, the Treats Unleashed. I took my dog there today to get a bath and some treats. And we love Wildwood. We love the community. We don't want to break any rules. And our fear, like we actually had a person come in who is a master designer and also did something to where it looked good on there, not like overpowering it or getting overpowered. You know, we had a professional actually come in and design that for us. We believe in the sign just like it is right there, and we don't want to break any rules, you know, and we want to be in good standing. And we don't want the sign so small to where it looks like the building's overpowering it, because like what it says, you know, to like me, when I see a little sign on the building, I'm like, that's kind of puny, like maybe even subconsciously. You know, when I see something on there, I see something that's like, wow, it's proud. You know, it says something for the community. It says something for our business. You know, I can't think of anything else to tell you. Is there anything else you'd want to know?
No, any initial questions? I have one, which is, which option do you like the best?
I'm kind of torn. I really like the color one here, but when everyone was like, hey, go to the white one, you know, that's like boom in your face. And I almost kind of think it's too much in your face. I don't know. I mean, I'm open to either the color one or the white one. But I do like the bigger one. And I got that the regulations may come out in the summer. I don't really want to wait that long. And I don't think that it's absurd enough to where it's like killing the building. And just so you know, too, we have twice as much square footage as any other person. And that building has been vacant for 5+ years, you know, and we moved in there with the commitment to get it going. And it's been tough. There's leaks coming in. There's things that have to be done, you know, so we're spending a lot of time, a lot of money. And I don't want to say like heartache and worry, you know, but like you kind of worry about something, your baby, you know, with like the leaks and stuff. So we're kind of going through it. We want something that we're really proud of when we come in, that we work for it, that we work with the community. Everyone that we talk to, I mean, as you can see, we're very likable. And a lot of people love us, so that we do a lot of attraction with that too. And the customers that we're bringing in are amazing as well, as you can imagine, you know, so. Yeah, I like both of them. Did you want me to just pick one now?
No, I
I
was
can
just,
look over here.
no, I was just curious. Curious to kind of what drew you, you know, both from a, you know, from a size and color.
Yeah, I like the A and B one, to tell you the truth. And can I lend the same curiosity to you? What sign do you like?
Yeah. I certainly, anybody want to play designer up here? You know, I don't think that, you know, to me, we just like, obviously our goal is to balance, like in any of these decisions, is balance what's best for the community, what's best for, you know,
Yeah.
you know, you as a business owner, because I think we're all grateful for the business owners here in Wildwood. So I was just curious from our own, as we kind of look to say, you know, what are we comfortable with? You know, if you said, hey, option E is my favorite, and naturally it's a little bit smaller. So I was just curious, just whatever. You know,
Yeah,
whatever.
he's not my favorite, and
Okay.
and for the exact reason that I said, I don't want
Yep.
it to be like swallow. Look, like to me, like this size right here,
Mhm.
it's 50 square feet out of 200, so you can see how it's even perfectly on everything and centered, and it just looks really good. Not like it's like overpowering the building, but part of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I like too that you can see it from a long way away, like for you're coming out of the Dearborn's grocery store or anything like
Sure.
that, you know. So.
Agreed.
Yeah, if I was gonna pick one, it'd be the 120/60, the 50 square feet. And if you wanted me to pick a color right now too, I'd be glad to. I can do some stuff on the spot. Yeah,
We will need, I think that's good. Just, I think more clarification may come with the department and exactly what we need to, you know, outline here. But no, I think for our purpose, anybody have questions for the petitioner?
I don't think color's an issue here.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
looking at size.
Yep.
So we'll just, if it's okay with everybody, we leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
Agreed.
can choose how you want to be
Oh,
displayed.
thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Agreed. Think we're good? Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everything too. And we love being in Wildwood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Love the energy. Any speakers in the audience that may want to speak in favor or opposition to this?
Mr. Chair, I
Petition.
have any raised hand?
Any questions, comments? from the board members? Seeing none. Oh, yep.
This is more for staff, but when you go back to P and Z and talk to them, facades on buildings are usually identified by what you see physically, not just the flat wall. So in this case, if I were presenting, I would have argued that my area takes in the return walls as well, because you see that. Elevations are not flat on a building, so you might want to discuss that with P and Z when you get into the work session.
Mr. Lee, we certainly will. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? All right. Would anybody like to hear an oral presentation of the department's report? Seeing none. Any final comments from the department?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the department is supporting the variances that were originally submitted in this case. We appreciated the discussion at the Architectural Review Board. At that time, the board didn't have the luxury of viewing what we're viewing this evening in terms of these renderings that are reduced. The department, upon looking at the renderings, does feel that the original request is the most proportionate to the space. And particularly given what is currently being discussed at Planning and Zoning Commission, we feel that the size being requested is appropriate. Given the lettering height, that's a different matter. The reason we're supporting the lettering height variance in this case is because of the orientation of this space. If you look at the surrounding signs, they're at more of a landscape orientation, but with this being the anchor to this building and having a taller area, it has a different orientation, which requires a different size and dimension to it. So we do feel like the lettering height variance is also supported in this case. To reduce the height adds a lot of negative space around the sign below it in particular. I did mention this is the anchoring tenant, anchoring business. So this business is intended to draw more people to the shopping center as a whole. And therefore, we don't see a problem with it having a more dominant sign than the other signs. So I suppose that concludes why we're recommending what we're recommending. As per color, as noted, and as you saw in the presentation, many signs around town center do have colors to them. The city regulations don't regulate color. Therefore, the department didn't feel it was appropriate to base a recommendation upon color in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. This time, any final comments from the board for that? Okay. And we will close this proceeding for a vote. Can I have a motion to approve, a motion to deny, or approve with conditions?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the variance request as submitted.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Lux. Mr. Bertolino, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Lux?
Yes.
Mr. Sprunger?
Approve.
Mr. Lee?
Approve.
And I approve as well. Congratulations. Your variance is approved as submitted. Thank you. Welcome to Wildwood. Thank you.
I'm sure the city attorney was. Decision.
Thank you for the offer. We cannot accept that. So. Thank you. Next petition, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, And members of the board, the second case, final case tonight is BA 4-25, John and Carmen Rawls, 237 Clayton Oaks Drive, Ellisville, Missouri, 63011. Request an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of constructing a single-family dwelling upon the property located at 315 Sice Lane, locator number 19W 420026, which would thereby authorize a side yard setback distance of 20.5 feet in lieu of the required 30-foot standard on its southern side. Requested contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.090 NU Non-Urban Resident District Regulations of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance. Identical requests were authorized by the Board of Adjustment on September 16th, 2021 and March 21st, 2024. This particular property is located in Ward 1. And again, as with the first case, before Ms. Keefe provides her slide presentation, the department would like to enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. File that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request, and all contents contained therein, including the report with recommendation. And then finally, any items that are offered as part of tonight's hearing, including, but not limited to, testimony, exhibits, maps, photos, and etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Munych.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, our second case this evening is one most of you have probably seen before, maybe a couple times. This is a variance to the side yard setback for a new home to be built upon a lot at 315 Sice Lane. Just one moment, please. I apologize for that technical difficulty just now. The subject lot is located in northern Wildwood near the intersection of Highway 109 and Wild Horse Creek Road. It is a 1.06 acre lot with a double frontage. So it has frontage, 121 feet of frontage on Sice Lane, and it also has frontage on Highway 109. And it is a fairly narrow lot, being 121 feet wide and 360 feet deep. Sice Lane, if you aren't familiar, is a gravel ribbon road. It is 20 feet wide. So it's kind of a unique little pocket here. The property is zoned non-urban residence district, which requires a 50-foot setback for front yards, which in this case would be both the front of the property and what you would think of as the rear of the property. So 50 feet on either side and then 30 feet from each side. However, the lot at approximately an acre is non-conforming for the non-urban residence district, which does require a minimum of 3 acres. So it's a smaller lot than what those setbacks were originally intended for. The lot is presently vacant. The front portion of the lot is relatively level and cleared. But a 20% grade is just beyond the proposed building site. In this area, the lot does look in this aerial, the lot looks pretty heavily wooded back here. However, with the installation of new roundabouts on Highway 109, much of this area has been cleared. So it doesn't, it's not quite as wooded there anymore. There's 45 feet of overall relief on the property. So it does have a pretty substantial slope, though difficult to see in the photos. This is the grading that has recently been done as part of the Highway 109 project, just to give you a sense of how far that intrudes into the lot. These are the plans the petitioner has submitted. The petitioner is requesting to build a new single-family residence at a 20.5 foot setback, which is depicted here in this green line, or sorry, in the green line, as opposed to, no, sorry, the red line is the setback that they want. So 20.5 foot side yard setback from the southern property line in lieu of the 30 feet that's required, and that's the green line. Do note that the grading change begins directly behind the residence. And as noted, there have been improvements to the rear of that lot. This is a closer up view, so I can get my colors correctly. Correct. Again, this is that 20.5 foot setback, and this is the 30 that's required. This is looking north on Sice Lane. You can't really see it though because it is covered in snow. This is looking northwest at the neighboring residence. This is looking east across the lot and at the lot of across the road from it. This is looking southeast. This is looking west, where you can see some of the tree clearing. This is looking southwest. And that's looking northeast again. And finally, I did manage to take a photo from 109 at the lot from behind. So here is the lot in question behind the trees here from 109. The department did receive 2 written comments in opposition to this request this round. But I did want to notice a past comment that we also received from this property here. So we have 2 somewhat abutting properties that are in opposition to the request. And that concludes my presentation at this time. If this board has any questions, the department is happy to answer them.
Any initial questions for the department?
Just one, make sure I heard you right. So you said the zoning restriction is normally for a 3-acre minimum, and the 30-foot setback on the sides and the 50, which is on both sides because of they're both frontage, is intended for a full 3-acre lot. Correct.
Yeah, it's based on a full 3 acres. This is a legally non-conforming
Right.
lot.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any past history or precedence for like what setbacks might be for like a 1-acre lot?
In the zoning ordinance, the R1 1-acre resident district, the front setback is 30 and the sides are 15.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. At this time, will the petitioner please come forward, state his or her name, address, relationship to this property, and we'll get you sworn in by the court reporter.
John Rouse, 237 Clayton Oaks Drive, Ellisville, Missouri, 63011. Owner of the property.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you, Mr. Rouse.
appreciate you seeing me again. You guys approved it last spring, and then 2 months after I got approved, I ended up being diagnosed where I had to have open heart surgery, is why I did not do the construction this past year on the property. So that's why I'm in front of you again, asking if we could get this approved so I can start construction on it. And now that I see what the 109 roundabout, because the contractor came in, I approved him grading the back of the property so they wouldn't have to put a retaining wall in. And so everything looks good as far as I'm concerned on that end. And health-wise, I'm better after having the surgery, so I'm ready to start construction this year.
Mr. Cronin?
Mr. Rouse, have you considered, and I don't remember what happened last time, but have you considered house design that would be compliant?
It was the last time we discussed, I wanted a side entry garage is the reason why I'm over on the side of the building line on the property. For aesthetic purposes, it looked better for a side entry garage versus a front entry. And to the side where I'm putting the garage, there is no home. And the opposition from last time, he is down the street to the left side. He's not even adjacent to me. And the first time I got approved, I went to him personally, and he had no problem with it at that time, as long as I was moving into the home and not selling it or renting it.
It isn't the house, unless I'm missing something here, it's in the setback on the south side, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, did you ever consider a house plan that wouldn't encroach on the south side? Because that's where the problem is, I think.
I wanted the garage on, I didn't want it on the side of Wild Horse. I wanted it
Sure.
more secluded on the opposite side, is why we designed it that way.
Okay, so you didn't consider a
I
different
did
design.
not consider
Okay,
that, no.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Mr. Rouse? Thank you, Mr. Rouse. At this time, are there any speakers in the audience who may want to speak in favor or opposition to the request? Each speaker has 5 minutes to present, inclusive of the board's questions, unless the chair allows additional time.
Hi, I'm John Schlegel. I live at 324 Size Lane, which is in the on the subject property. I'm on the southeastern side.
Just a moment, we'll get you sworn
Yeah.
in here.
Pardon?
We'll get you sworn in. Yeah.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
I'm kind of confused. This petition was approved in 21, correct? And it was approved in March of last year. And now we're going through it again. This property has been a problem for 15 years. It was purchased in 2011 by Mr. Rawls. Within 2 years, I can't tell you how many calls I've made to Mr. Vunich's office about yard maintenance. Finally, it got to a fact that it went to the Wildwood City Court, and they put Mr. Rawls on probation for 1 year, subject to a $1,000 fine and 30 days in jail if he didn't maintain the property. Last year, which was 24, I had at least a half a dozen emails to Mr. Vunich's office about property maintenance. So it still goes on. So 15 years, and now we're doing this for the third time. It's just very frustrating, very frustrating. Let's do something with it, or let's not do anything with it. Prior to 2010, it was owned by the sibling of the owner of the house across the street, which was sold, but they maintained the property. And I've been out there since 82. So for 82, 20 years, 25 years, the property was maintained, went under new ownership. Nothing has been done. So it's very confusing for me. My time, your time, we're doing this again for a third time. I just don't know if there's another agenda here or not, but it's not the house. What it is, I don't know. Have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions?
Well, so what do you think what do you think a reasonable answer is here?
I don't know. I pull up the tax report on the property, and for 22, 23, and 24, there's been no taxes paid on this property, according to St. Louis County. Right here. So I don't know what's going on. And then I went back to 2011, 12, and 13. The first taxes paid on the property was in 2014. So I don't know. Either let's do something with it or let's forget about it. I have no idea what's going to go on. Before that property was changed hands, Mr. Yale, who was the neighbor, had his garden there, and that's what he did. And then he cut it. He maintained the property. But when it changed hands, it's nothing's been done with it. And it's been an issue and a nuisance, and I'm here again less than a year later, we're doing the same thing. So it's just, let's do something with it. Either keep it maintained, keep it well, or put a house up. But third time, no. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Thank you. Ms. Keefe, are there any other audience members online or in person that would like to speak in favor or opposition to this request?
Mr. Chair, I have no other speakers cards and I don't see any raised hands online.
Any other questions, comments for the department or petitioner?
A question for staff. So our process is there has to be action taken on this for 6 months or it becomes null and void. Would that action be filing for a building permit?
Yes, that's how we gauge the effective date of the action by the board. Mrs. Keefe will prepare a letter. If there is a favorable action again, it will give a specific date where the building permit or appropriate permit has to be issued.
I also have a question. For staff, is there any kind of a process where a petitioner, say they get approved for a variance request, they get 4 months into their 6-month window and they realize, they're not going to make it in 6 months. Is there any kind of mechanism where they can request an extension to those 6 months?
Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'd prefer Mr. Young maybe to answer that question for Mr. Sprunger. And so, Mr. Young, if you don't mind.
Mr. Young, are you able to answer Mr. Sprunger's question regarding an extension as we come close to those 6 months?
Yeah, so there's no specific, I'm not aware of a specific procedure under the variance that allows for an extension, except to come back to the Board of Adjustment through the variance process and ask for that extension, which is what is being done this evening.
Mr. Young.
And did the petitioner contact the department prior to the 6 months expiring, saying that they're going to need to get an extension?
I didn't receive contact until more recently, and that's when we went forward with the variance.
Thank you.
And Ms. Keefe, just to clarify, this isn't a request for an extension, correct? This is a request for a new issued variance, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Would anybody like to the opportunity to hear oral presentation from the department's report before we hear the final comments from the department? Seeing none, Ms. Keefe, any final comments from the department?
So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the department is supporting this case for the same reasons it has in the past. It's a very narrow lot. It's a substandard size significantly. It's 1/3 of the size of the 3-acre minimum. With the woodland removal towards the rear of the property, there's just not a whole lot of space on the property to work with. And so we do support the variance on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. Director Vunich?
Mr. Chair, I don't want Mr. Schlegel's comments not to be addressed. Certainly, as he mentioned, the Department of Planning and its code enforcement team have spent a great deal of time addressing property maintenance issue at this particular address. That is part of our role as local government, and we're glad to try to address problems when residents, neighbors, and others identify them. So suffice to say, we understand the frustration Mr. and Mrs. Schlegel have, and certainly nobody wants to live next to a property that's not being appropriately maintained. In terms of taxes, certainly that's an issue. Service providers depend on property tax to provide essential services to all residents and visitors to the city, whether it's fire, EMS, police, etc. So from that perspective, certainly we understand the need for taxes to be paid or the system breaks down. However, regardless of violations or non-paid taxes, the department continues to look at the key components of practical difficulty or unique circumstances. And I think Ms. Keefe did a very good job of identifying those for this particular lot. So to Mr. Schlegel and Mrs. Schlegel, we'll do our best if there's problems. We'll always try to be responsive. And St. Louis County, at the end of 3 years, eventually we'll put the property up for a tax sale. So a warning to Mr. Rawls. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
And just to be clear, this really is the third time for this variance request. So the first time they let that 6 month lapse, the second time they let the 6 months lapse.
Yes, and as Mr. Rawls mentioned, he had a major surgery, obviously, that delayed any activity other than getting healthy and getting back on his feet.
Sure, and we're glad that he's recovering well from that. I mean, but there's still the first time, it's, I don't know.
And certainly, I'm sure there's a list of reasons that Mr. Rawls could provide. From the department's perspective, nothing's changed on the lot. It's still almost 2 acres less than 3 acres in size. The setbacks are intended for a 3 acre or greater size lot. The work that now has been done by the state of Missouri even adds in the department's opinion, more issues relative to the property. And so from the perspective of the department, again, we're just focusing on Has anything changed relative to the lot and the area where the lot is located? Relative to the first item, no. Relative to the second item, yes. The state of Missouri, after a long delay by the Departments of Planning and Public Works, finally got permission to basically remove those trees and reshape that drainage tributary, which was an issue we, like I said, didn't particularly like, but we did proceed forward.
And to clarify again is there is the we aware of no extension process other than coming from this board again in 6 months, meaning as far as Mr. Slagle's concern of, how long is this going to go on for? If it were a favorable decision today by the board, it's 6 months.
It's 6 months, and if
And
the
then-
permit isn't obtained in the 6 months, the variance is voided, and then the process would start again. Certainly, you could send a strong message if you chose, but again, I would always emphasize, let's look at the practical difficulty and the unique circumstances associated with the property.
And just to clarify, there is no restriction on the number of times you can apply for a variance or anything like that, right? I mean,
No, in years past, Mr. Lux, we've had a petitioner come back 3 straight months, tweaked the proposal each of those times, but came straight back and board was consistent, denied all 3 of them each time, denied each of them the course of that 3 months. So yes, they can come back as many times as they like.
okay. And then just separately, are you aware of any building permit being submitted at this point, or is typically the variance granted and then the submission occurs? How does that normally work? And in this particular case, are you aware of anything?
Oftentimes, a builder, property owner will submit a set of plans for zoning authorization and then the issuance of building permits. And that's when the need for the variance is identified. So that's a typical situation. In other instances, not as often. The process starts. The architect engineer notes it right away. They stop work on the plans to ensure that before they invest more money, if the variance can be granted or not. So it just depends on the circumstances. Some architects and engineers know more about the codes than others, and sometimes that's how we receive them. Someone that's well informed, we may get them a little earlier. Someone that just may not have gone over the code to the detail.
So there have been no plans to date submitted to the city for building on this parcel.
We have the plot plan, which is a key element. I do not know if a set of architectural drawings have been submitted for the house. They may have been in the first or second instance and may be still applicable, but I don't know to answer that. I would defer to Ms. Keefe if she knows, but I don't know.
And a plot plan is basically what we're looking at tonight.
Exactly.
And we have not closed proceeding. Mr. Rouse, it look like you wanted to add something? Do you mind coming back up to the podium, please? And we'll let you answer
A set of plans have been submitted to the building department. They have the plans. That's why I had to come before the board, because they told me I was over the property line. So plans have been submitted.
Was that the first time you've submitted the plans to that building department?
That's correct.
So we
And they
see-
still have the plans, and that's the exact plans we were using.
So that is a new step since 2021 that
No,
you've-
I submitted them after 2021.
Correct, but I'm saying that, so that's a step further than you've been in the past few years by submitting those to the department, or have you submitted other plans?
No,
Okay.
that is when we
Okay.
submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Rouse.
I can offer a clarification here. So the way that the building department works here and the St. Louis County has to have sign off from City of Wildwood staff on any permit that would clear all these issues. So the project would not go forth with St. Louis County unless Wildwood's signature is on that.
Any other questions for the department before we close the proceeding here? At this time, we will close the proceeding for a vote. Can I have a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second? We have a second to approve. Mr. Bertolino, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Lux?
Approve.
Mr. Sprunger? Mr. Lee?
Approve.
And I vote to approve as well, so the variance is approved. You have 6 months, Mr. Morales. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. We do have 2 additional items of business on the agenda for tonight. The first item of additional business is to approve the minutes of the board's January 16th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bertolino?
Approve.
Mr. Lux?
Approve.
Mr. Sprunger?
Approve.
Mr. Lee? And I approve as well. So those minutes are approved.
Thank
The
you.
sorry. The second item of additional business is this year's election of officers. Ms. Keith, do you have some additional information on that?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, it is that time of year again. Every year, the Board of Adjustment must hold elections. This election is a little different than past years in that we only have 2 positions to fill, and that is the vice chair and chair positions. As noted in my emails to you, I did request if anyone would like to fill those positions prior to this meeting. And what I understand is that our current chair and our current vice chair both would like to remain so if this board would so choose that path forward. However, at this time, we can certainly take other nominations from the floor. If there are none, then we would respectfully request a motion from you. You may vote on it individually, or you may vote as a slate. But we do have Jared Frank for chair and Arnie Sprunger for vice chair. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to vote as a slate for approval.
Second that. And all those in favor? Aye.
Does this
All
need to
right.
be a roll call vote?
I think a voice vote is fine unless the city attorney says otherwise.
That's fine.
Well, congratulations. We have a chair and vice chair for another year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
At this time, we will consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.